In Africa, more than half of the continent's population is under the age of 25. Yet many of its leaders are not. They should be on pension. In addition to that, there seems to be a missing link between the passing of wisdom from one generation to the next. Besides the fact that losses are getting greater and leaders are getting better at turning a blind eye. I believe it's time for young people to take initiative, or to rather grab initiative of all sectors of the African society and turn it into the powerful force it can be. During the month of October and now leading also into November, students flooded the streets of South Africa and exercised their human rights. Racism and other forms of discrimination took the back seat as students stood in solidarity and became one clear, unified voice. They voiced their frustrations based on the proposed hike in tuition fees. It all started at WITS and then escalated to a national shutdown with over 10,000 students from all walks of life standing for fees must fall as they marched to the union buildings. I, for one, was a part of the revolutionary march. And I don't think I'm the only one that realized that young people are at the forefront of change. Yes, stun grenades and blue and green tear gas were involved. A hashtag was spawned and the world took notice. But the true message I got was that young people are a force to be reckoned with. Today I will be sharing with you 3 key tools, 3 key ideas that I've learned from my dad, my experiences, and my role models. They will help you reimagine your life, assist you to ultimately unleash your potential, and bring about remarkable change in the African continent. So for starters, let's go back to basics a little bit. Let's think about your life as a book and think of the many chapters in this book. When I think of one of my first dreams growing up, I wanted to be one of, and it's so hard for me to communicate, I wanted to be one of the youngest Nobel Peace Prize winners, and unfortunately, Malala beat me to that at the age of 17. But when I look at my book now and some of the ideas that I'm developing and the person I'm trying to become, do my chapters correlate with that? Do they make sense? Am I becoming the person I want to become? Am I telling the story I want to tell? So tool number 1 is definitely what's directing your steps. In order for a phoenix to rise, it first needs to burn. After a very busy first semester, I got back home and there were 4 things that I really wanted to do in my life. Like, these 4 things must just come together. And they were definitely eating homemade food, sponging on Wi-Fi, and reconnecting with some of my favorite series. And in the midst of doing just that, there were conversations happening in the background that I wasn't really a part of. Conversations that made me feel a bit uneasy. And I later on found out that my hero, my role model, my source of inspiration, my dad, had lost one of his jobs. This, of course, had broken my heart and put me in a place where I really didn't understand, because I naturally feel as though with everything that happens in my life, I am the solution. There's always something that I can do. So in our tough times as a family, I thought it'd be rather cool to get re-inspired about life again. And what better way to do that than to revisit our source of inspiration? So when I found out that the Robert Kiyosaki, author of Rich Dad, Poor Dad, multimillionaire extraordinaire, and a man who basically teaches the world how to become rich was coming to South Africa, I knew I wanted to have an interview with that man. That man who also happens to be my dad's hero, but he's also slowly but surely become one of mine. And in this very expensive hotel suite, Robert Kiyosaki said something very profound. He said, "We are all geniuses of something." Another statement that sort of linked to that idea was the words of Bonang Mateva. She said, "You have to find something about yourself that is unique, something you can bottle and sell that'll make you stand out of the crowd." At first, when I heard this statement, two things naturally came to mind. Number one, of course, I really want to be a refreshing drink with my life. And number two, my gift of motivating others and this ability is maybe my responsibility to the world. So the second key I would like to share with you, the second tool, is for you to ponder on maybe what is your one thing. This past Saturday, I was taking a walk with one of my closest friends, and because I'm a liker of intellectual conversation, I asked Albert, what are the 5 things he really likes about himself? And to my surprise, over a very, I don't even have a watch, but over a very long period of time, Albert could only say 3 things that he really liked about himself. He said things, for example, like, he really likes his diversity, the fact that he has a lot of different talents. He also mentioned, and it's something I might not necessarily agree with, but he said that he had extraordinary people skills. And last but not least, the other thing that he shared is that he's adaptable to any circumstances, no matter who, no matter how, no matter why. He can sort of see the best in those scenarios. And as much as those 3 things are, they're applaudable and I understand where he's coming from, it saddened my heart that he could only come up with 3 things that he really liked about himself. And that really got me thinking about an idea that my dad told me most of the days of my life. And he said, if you want to know how your life will be like in the next 5 years, listen to what you're saying about yourself now. And that was tool number 3. More than half of Africa's population is under the age of 25. That means that young people are in majority. And as much as democracy has advanced, the freedom that we have been promised or advertised is something that we're still waiting for. Our identity as young people is the reason for the sweat on the brows of our parents who are from, or rather a legacy of oppression. As I live my life with these 3 key tools that my dad shared with me, and I try to move forward, I've realized that with sharing this with you and the rest of the world, we can take the world to new heights. And our legacy as a community, as of people here and of young people of the world, our legacy and our future will be opportunity for all. Whether you're below the age of 25, or you're 50, or you're becoming a young 70, in conclusion, there's one thing I would really like for you to take with you after this speech. And that is definitely that leadership is not taken from, or let me rather start that quote again. Leadership is not taken from one man with power, but from a person who chooses what matters.